Hi, it's Anna Mason. In this video, I wanted to show you how I built up the layers of watercolour to create this juicy 3D blackberry that's popping off the paper. Key to getting it looking three-dimensional is to make sure that the highlights and the darkest areas of shadow are in the right places. So I worked from a macro photo and I marked both out in my drawing to begin with. The highlights looked so light that I painted my first layer with a mega watery grey colour, just a shade darker than the paper. After painting the lightest tones in the stalk and the other colours to the berry, I wanted to be able to see the highlights on the berry going forward. So I applied a second layer of the watery mix to the now dry paper everywhere in the berry except for the highlights. With the highlights in the right place, by the end of this stage the segments of the berry already look like they have a little bit of form to them, although they're overall way too light. To ensure that I didn't stay too light as I layered up, I went on to paint the very darkest shadow areas between the berry segments next. I used a really thick creamy black mix, which was as dark as I could make it, and focused on creating hard lines with my brush along the edges of segments, but a more textured edge where the dark colour would need to transition into a lighter one. Next, I watered my mix down a little to work on the next darkest colours in the berry, overlapping into the darkest areas I just painted and leaving gaps wherever I could see a lighter colour. At this stage the berry looks really disjointed, but that's to be expected when I've only painted the lightest and darkest parts of its tonal range. Painting the midtones is where the berry comes together, which I did next by again watering my mix down some but keeping it darker than the original layer, and applying it everywhere this tone or darker. This creates a colour lighter than is needed in a lot of places, but that's okay because by letting the layer underneath dry first, I could continue to build up layers wherever needed darkening. And it was easier to judge which bits should be darker once the full tonal range of the berry was already painted. After working on the darker tones again, I shifted to work on the mid-tones some more with that same mid-consistency mix, making sure I created texture when I layered up around the highlights. With this darkening up done, it was easier to see that I needed to darken some of the highlights a little more by applying another layer of mega watery paint once the paper underneath was dry, leaving just a few gaps to the lighter colour underneath where needed. With the stalk painted, it was time to complete a final round of adjustments to make sure that the tonal balance was right. Starting with a layer of the thick mix, working on the darkest tones again. Then adding a little more water to work on the darker mid-tones again, using a smaller brush to add more detail. Next, watering the mix down further to work on the mid-tones again. Before using the super watery mix again to work on the highlights some more, adding detail and darkening just a touch, until I was happy with how shiny and 3D the berry was looking. A full video class of this blackberry is available now in my online school and is also a project in my latest book. If you've enjoyed this tip video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'd love it if you'd share this video with your friends. And if you'd like to take one of my tried and tested video classes for free, pay a visit to annamasonart.com, where you'll find even more resources to help you pick up your brush and paint the way you've always wanted to. But remember, you won't improve your painting unless you make the time to actually paint. So be sure to schedule in some me time this week and paint something that you love. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with another tip for giving your watercolours the wow factor. Blackberry, 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 blackberry.